This is the BMW 850 convertible. Well, it should have been the 850 convertible, but they needed that for something else. And so to make up for changing my schedule of cars, BMW said, hey, we're going to replace it with a 600 horsepower BMW M5 Super Saloon. Is that okay? And I said yes. So hit the subscribe button because this is going to be good, boys. Let's cut to the chase there, huh? And realise that we are in. That was my bottle that made that noise. Hold up. I have a bottle here in the door, listen. That's a thunk. That's a real good thunk. And of course that size bottle does fit in a door, and I can also certify that a bottle of wine fits in that door pocket. It's huge. It's a big bottle holder. So straight away you know you're in a BMW. It looks like the rest of the BMW range in here. It seems to be similar. The gear stick is completely different, and they've got a new screen down here at the bottom, and there's a couple of red buttons. Don't touch the red buttons on the steering wheel, which are delicious when you press them. But steering wheels, BMW is still more or less the king of the steering wheel, how it feels on their hand, but it is kind of noisy when you shuffle it around the place. Now, you shouldn't shuffle the steering wheel really that much. We have an all electronic dash in there, we have an infotainment system here, we have another electronic sort of readout here, but there's manual controls on the air conditioning system, and I have a CD player in this one, which is unusual. You get these M5 seats as standard, which are very huggy, and these little M5 logos actually light up at night time. They glow. I only saw it yesterday, but it only works in the dark. It's not dark enough to do that now. Also, you have a lot of storage bins here, including a wireless charger for your phone, and crucially, you can also charge your key there, which this key is kind of useless. It's a massive thing with a screen on the middle of it here, so you can turn it on, but it doesn't really do all. It just tells you the windows are locked and tells you how much fuel you have burned. I can now do 359 kilometers on 3/4 of a tank. I burned that gun on the road in M mode. Anyway, we'll get to the M mode in a minute. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, let's go. The gear stick is totally different from any of the BMW range. A different thing entirely. You pull this way to go to D, you pull that way to go D manual. You go that way to go neutral, and that way and forward to go reverse. And then on the top of that, you have a gear ferocity changer, which presses this and that to turn it up and down to make it hold the rev longer and be more ferocious when it changes gears. It's interesting. We'll do that one as well. Down on this side, you don't have Eco Pro or Eco or any of those modes you normally see in a BMW here. We have 3 buttons on here that changes the setup of the engine. Engine, suspension, steering, all can be changed from efficient and comfort into sports, sport pro, all that sort of stuff, and it's like serious, turned off. Also, there is a very small, but it's here, and they've included a little USB changer if you want to charge something else into USB-C. Infotainment system is a bit glitchy. It is in all the BMWs. There's an awful lot of tech going on there, and it's always a little bit glitchy in there. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. You can use it very well. There's a lot in it, but you can use it. So you can also go into My Vehicle, and you can change the settings on your M setup, which allows you to be able to configure what these 2 buttons do over here. The big red buttons, M1, M2. You can have either one of those. Now, they are manual settings, so what you are allowed to do is set those up so when you press them, you go into different modes. So you can have the engine on big ferocious power, turn everything off, DSC off, the whole show. On an M2, on an M1, you have it set to sort of noisy, loud, manual gearbox, but you have DSC on or whatever, and then if you press them again, you turn it all off and it goes back into your custom setting. It's sort of an efficient engine, it's quieter, it turns it all down. You can also silence, or not silence, but you can turn the noise of the exhaust down from a button here. Have it on full loud, and have it on semi-loud, whatever you want. But the settings in the iDrive system, I'm not going to go into all of these. There are millions of them, millions of settings in here that you can go into. I still find the whole system a little bit glitchy to work with phones. Sometimes it's connected properly. Other times I feel like it's not connected right and it's not playing properly. Apple CarPlay hasn't even tried to hook up on the phone. Normally it comes up on the screen, asks me, do you want to hook up with Apple CarPlay? And it's not there. It is there, it just won't do it. For whatever reason, my phone doesn't want to communicate with the iDrive system, and that's the end of it. It's not a deal breaker. You're not buying this car for that system. It has nothing at all to do with it, actually. You're buying it for what's over there outside the car under that bonnet. But we'll come to that. Down here, this convenient little screen gives me information of what vent is on, what fan is on, what temperatures are happening, but you don't actually need to use the screen at all. You've got knobs here, and you've got all the traditional BMW buttons that are here as well, including physical buttons for changing the channel. On the radio station, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is written across here, and when you touch them, you move them on that system up there as well. Works perfectly. Ideal stuff. Seat adjustments. There's millions of settings in the seat adjustments. Conveniently, memory seats on both sides, so you can have 2 settings on each seat on both sides at the front. Works perfectly. Alcantara on the inside up here along race driver style stuff. It's a beautiful interior. That dashboard is outstanding. I just love it. Beyond love. And I haven't even started it for you yet. So we're going to give it a little start. We're actually going to drive it after, right? So that's starting in quiet mode, right? Now what you can do is when you press one of the M buttons, it opens the flap up. You give it a second. It takes a while for it to cop on. You've done what you're doing. And when the settings change, you hear the burble will change to go with it. Now you can hear the burble is much deeper, much more growly. You hear a lot more when you're on the move. When you're going at speed, you will hear a lot more of that. We'll come back to that in a second. So when you turn off M2, it'll go back down. It's constantly stuck in 4-wheel drive unless you go in and turn off the DSC, and then you can turn on 2-wheel drive. So this is predominantly a rear-wheel drive, but it's X-drive. But when you want it to be, it's 2-wheel drive. So BMW have done the lot and put them all back in, so you can have any setting you want, which is pretty good, I think. Anyway, that's enough from the front seat, where I'll be back into the seat in a minute. We're just going to check out the back seat to see what it's like for leg room back there as well, right? Come with me. Steering wheel's electric as well, by the way. Yeah, steering wheel is electric and moves out of your way when you're doing that. Okay, so back seat. Remember, super saloons have a job to do, and that super saloon job to do is to be able to carry people. Look at that room. Now, if in the event you decide to go to a racetrack and set a savage time and you hit the brakes really hard and you're carrying passengers, it's a plastic back on the seat. So when they get sick, they just get sick into a very heavy plastic pocket. It's quite useful, I'd say, at some point. Or if they smash their face against the back of the seat, it won't hurt you so much. Good tongue from the door back here as well, as usual. Good, feels good. Something went, I don't know what that was, but whatever it is. It is pretty dark back here though, in fairness, and that's because the windows are tinted on the back and there's no sunroof at all on the top. But I do have 12-volt sockets for some reason. They put in 2 of them back here, which are relatively useless because you need USB these days. There's a little sort of a slot there, and then I have dual zone climate control back here and heated seats on both sides. And I have 2 air vents above that as well, which you can turn on and off. Good door pockets back here, good door bins on both sides. And this being a super saloon, you've got a comfortable armrest. And that opens up into a double, very complicated looking cup holder. And yes, you can. It folds flat right there. You can get your little skis through here if you want to go skiing, of course, on the weekend. On a side note, as a little bit of rooting around found, there is handles here for dropping the seats in the back. But they're not obvious handles. There's no handles inside the car to do that from it. Right, on with the boot, because the boot is vitally important in a car like this. It has to live up to expectations and all. Yeah, so boot is electric. And it's big. It is a shade under 500 litres, but you're going to get probably more than that in there because it's a perfectly rectangular space. The only real intrusion is the wheel arches on both sides, but other than that, it's pretty much perfectly rectangular with a decent size opening. Now you can lock the car from this by pressing the button, and you can just close the boot from here as well. I just closed the boot for a moment. Really, the only exterior M badging you get is on the back here, on the side vents and on the front. The only real way to tell that a BMW M5 is an M5 is the 4 exhausts. Now, close to inspection, we'll find that the roof is actually made of carbon fibre as well, so you can have a look at the roof and see about that as a modern M5. Everything else with these little 3 lines on it, says M beside it, is a grade, a model grade. So you can get a 5 Series M, which is a different thing entirely. That's different alloys and a few other little different options. But other than that, this is the genuine article, real M5, and everything else is, well, an imposter. Now, let's head for a drive. God, I can't wait for this part. Right, so let's just think about using this every day, because that's what usually bothers me when it comes to a review of super saloons or even supercars or anything like that. It's like, well, you're not going to drive around like that every day, are you? You're not going to be like that all the time. And that's why right now I'm just going to keep it here in standard. What I have set is efficient for engine, comfort for suspension, and comfort for steering, right? Now it's still pretty solid when it's in comfort mode, but these seats pull that road flat. It just does. It just keeps it that perfect flatness all the way along. Very, very competent car. BMW do handling almost like no one else. They really do. For me, there are a lot of benchmarks in BMW. One of them is handling. The other one is rear-wheel drive. They do it very well. They're not brilliant in their standard cars at xDrive. The 4-wheel drive system, that's best left usually to Audi in their Quattro system. But I will say that xDrive in this car works like a peach. I really like it. It really is that good. Now, like I said, this is tame mode. This is the mode where you go, oh yeah, it's just a 5 Series, isn't it? Yeah, this is true. It is that mode. Hold on, there's cars coming up the road now. We can't put up in front of them even for an M5. You know how important I am? By the way, this car, he's looking at the car because he knows exactly what it is. This car in Ireland starts at about 165k, give or take. The one I'm in is more 200. I'll be up around there because there's active cruise control and everything on this. But here we are out on a main road, a normal road, sir, on an M5. But when you're in an M5, there isn't really such a thing as a normal road. There's roads, and then there's roads that you can make the world turn backwards on. Now, there's an 8-speed box in this, and in comfort, efficiency, or whatever mode it is, it really does waft along the road. The fuel economy is okay. I get on average about 14 litres per 100 kilometres, but in actual fact, that was me doing a hand gesture. Look, you can mute things with your 2 fingers, like the devil. Anyway, that's how you mute things. You can get about, it says 10.3. I'd say it'd be closer to getting 11. But okay, so I know you all want me to press the big red button, don't you? It's the big red M button. There's no longer just one button that goes M and then you're gone to mental. No, now it's 2 buttons and they're configurable. So that turns on M now. I'm in full M mode. I've everything turned on, DSC off. I'm in rear wheel drive as well. So, knock the wind out of you. Now, you never get used to that noise of the V8. You never get used to that. That still excites me. This has a 0 to 100 km an hour time, a little bit over 3 seconds, right? Very, very quick. That 4-wheel drive system can launch you to 100 km an hour very fast. It would be very close, and I know a lot of people now are going to throw it into the comments there. You know, the Model S is able to get to 60 as quick. I think a fine electric car could do it as quick. No, there's nothing exciting about an electric car getting to 100 kilometers an hour. Nothing. Even in super mode, fast mode, whatever. It's not exciting. It doesn't involve you in the same way as this thing does. This thing flings you around the car, going from where it's going to where it's going to. You're just a passenger. You just got to change gears at the right time. That's all. That's it. Going to the motorway. Bang! It's just a rocket ship. And quite honestly, I was literally in 5th gear out of 8 there and could have continued on sailing well beyond the 200 km an hour mark. There is nothing on the road like this thing. There's nothing as fast. I know there's the Audi RS6 and there's all sorts of Mercedes AMGs now did it again. There's all kinds of stuff, but this thing just makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up every time you push your foot down. Even in 8th, there's no torque because there's turbos in this car, of course. You flip back a gear. Now I'm doing 120. That's 7th, 6th, 5th. 4th, 124 kilometers an hour, 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. What a car! I've never, no way, is there anything else on earth that's like this thing. This feels like it would turn the world the opposite direction. Maybe I should get in touch with someone from the BBC who does a space show and see if I can actually make the earth turn the other way if I accelerate hard enough in this thing. Because it is a phenomenal piece of kit. I will never ever get used to this car, and I know I won't, and I know I'm going to regret every moment I'm not driving it. It doesn't matter if it's 200,000, 250,000. There is a joy, a technological marvel that happens in a car like this that happens to nothing else. Forget about the Euro boxes that I'm surrounded by here, the Hyundais and the Renaults and all these other cars. They are meaningless when it comes to a car like this. It's not even a point in quoting 600 horsepower to you. It's not relevant until you have it hitting you in the face like a hammer, one rev after the other, every single moment. Boom! Boom! It's just wild. It's a wild experience, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You can't drive through a town without that noise just rattling off windows. It's crazy. And then the best part of this car, when you want to drive home, when you want to bring the kids to school, when you want to just go shopping, when the one morning you're going to the airport, it's early, you don't want to wake the neighbours, you just do that. All turns off. It all turns into a civilized moment of nothing more than a V8 doing its job. One button that changes the fortune of a car from being ordinary to being extraordinary. I've never known a machine like this to leave me with a feeling of, yeah, I don't work hard enough. I need to work harder to earn more money so I can afford the tires on this thing. I just love it. It is an incredible feat of engineering, but there's a soul being poured into it. There's a passion. There's the machine, there's the man behind the wheel. And I think we might love each other a little bit. So the sun is starting to go down. It is an absolutely fabulous summer that's coming. I hope the people of France are going to be very safe, but this video needed an ending, and this is going to begin the end of the daily content. There's just not enough cars in Ireland to do daily content with. So I'm going to try and get out as many videos as I possibly can. I'm also going to introduce a new sort of series where we review used cars, ones that are user cars, not car dealership cars. That's coming. If you have a car you think I'd be interested in, think it would need a little kick, maybe it's for sale on, I don't know, Dundee or Cars On or Cars Out or somewhere, get in touch and we'll see if we can make a little video. If it's an interesting car and I think it's a good thing we can do, well, we might have a bit of a laugh. But I have to go and finish driving the M5. The petrol tank is not quite empty just yet, and I intend to empty it before bringing it back. So hit the subscribe button. There's tons more cars to come. I really mean there's tons more cars to come. The E-Soul, the E-Nero, there's some Jags, there's the Corolla twins, Corolla, the saloon and hatchback, Volvo S60. There's a couple of Skodas coming on the way. There's a few electric things, the Focus STs and Nice. I'm going over to drive the 30th anniversary of the Mazda MX5. There's so much good content to come on the channel, so please hit the subscribe button and join me for the rest of the year as I try to get viciously across the 40,000 subscriber mark. That'd be really good. One of the bigger channels in Ireland then, that stage. But anyway, whatever happens, hit the subscribe button. There's loads of support menus down below. You can go in and have a check out of things you can buy in merch shops and Amazon and all sorts of stuff. Whatever you do, just hit subscribe and join me for, let's spin the M5 maybe later on in the year. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side. Right, let's go to Portlaoise here for a start. Forgot to mention a carbon fibre roof, funny enough. Never thought of that. It is, look, carbon fibre, like plastic.